Despite how high the SKS has been on top 10 meta guns list in previous seasons of the game, times have changed while the SKS hasn't. It still has low mobility, decent 2-tap potential as long as you hit the upper body, and an infinite 1-tap range as long as you hit a headshot. Hit flinch will always be a problem no matter which way you build it. The mag size on the SKS is well above average in comparison to similar weapons in its category, sitting at 20 bullets. But of course, the SKS is going to lag in terms of reload speed, meaning the SKS continues to be used in a passive to passive aggressive playstyle. Fire interval isn't fast by any means, but quicker than most semi-automatic weapons in the game, sitting at 165 milliseconds of fire interval. The XPR on the other hand has a 375 milliseconds fire interval, but makes up for it with its ADS time being at 292 milliseconds in comparison to the SKS's 384 milliseconds. Movement speed is close to the SKS, being only a 0.36 meters per second negligible difference, but when sprinting, the XPR takes point on this one, boasting a 6.25 meters per second sprint speed. The XPR does have a smaller mag size, sitting at a measly 8 bullets per mag with an even worse reload time. All in all, both are really good passive playstyle weapons, though they do have difficulty keeping up with higher guns on the list. Here are the builds that I use if you're interested. Subscribe and leave a like on the video if you want to see more of this type of content. Join the Discord to get access to exclusive unlisted uploads. Moving on. The fastest fire rate LMG in the game with over 1000 RPM has got to be one of the easiest LMGs to use in the game. The mobility and the reload speed seem to be the only downside this gun has, with 4.37 meters per second movement speed as well as a 5.68 meters per second sprint speed, and finally a 4.64 seconds reload time. Range is no issue at all, with 38.5 meters being more than enough for you to consistently eliminate enemies with a decent time skill. Just be considerate of your ammo management, because although you may have a 125 mag size, you can quickly burn through them with only 7 seconds of spray time. LMGs on average tend to have 10 seconds of spray time, which means you are going to reload more often in comparison to other LMGs, and because of the slow reload time, makes you more prone to getting killed in the middle of reloading your weapon. Number 9, we have a collection of flex ARs. All of these weapons are very similar, but what sets them apart is their usability. The Peacekeeper, for instance, has good damage range, but unfortunately, because of the chaotic recoil pattern, it's reserved toward more skilled players to take advantage of. Otherwise, use the AK-117, which is the quickest fire interval of the three and a much more manageable recoil pattern than the Peacekeeper. It also has the cleanest iron sights, making it the easiest to spot and track enemies while ADS'd. Unfortunately, the AK-117's damage range is inferior to the Type 19's in almost every single one except from close to mid-range. The Type 19 is the most balanced out of the three, having the most usable recoil pattern and a really good damage range, beating the AK-117 and Peacekeeper close range and long range of up to 52.2 meters. The biggest complaint many people might have would be the fact that you might have to use up an attachment slot for a red dot, as the Type 19 has the worst iron sights of the bunch. Despite that, you can swap out the ammunition or stock attachments with very little downsides. KN-44 and LK-24 have similar stats but offer two different playstyles. Both have similar damage ranges, fire intervals, reload times, movement speeds, PSA, and even damage multipliers. What makes these two different are their recoil patterns, hit flinch, and ADS times. The KN-44 is leaned towards a more aggressive playstyle, as it has a 6.18 meters per second sprint speed versus the LK-24's slower 5.64 meters per second sprint speed. The LK-24 also has slower ADS time, but what makes the LK-24 so special is the stability. Recoil is low and the hit flinch is a lifesaver. What the KN-44 struggles with is beaming small targets, making it easy to make mistakes in longer range gunfights. The LK-24 effortlessly lasers enemies at further ranges. Don't forget about the bullet impact, as it is slightly better than the KN-44, meaning that it causes the enemy's hit flinch to be higher, making it so that they're more inaccurate. What I recommend to people that want to use the KN-44 is to use it in bursts. Practice spraying in bursts of up to 10 to 12 bullets so you avoid the more chaotic recoil. In between bursts, use the KN-44's quicker movement and spray again to avoid dying while trying to reset the recoil pattern. In conclusion, the LK-24 is just as viable as the KN-44, so feel free to choose either. PP-19 received a pretty good buff last season. It is currently one of the most noob-friendly weapons in the game right now, having low recoil, clean iron sights, large mag size, really good damage range of up to 41 meters, and good mobility stats. Although its fire interval is on the higher end of most SMGs and even some ARs in the game, its ease of use definitely makes up for it. If you have a friend new to the game, I recommend them using this build. For the number 6 spot, we have both the CX9 and Fennec. It's no surprise the Fennec is on the list as it is a monster when it comes to close range. Damage ranges for both guns are similar, with the Fennec having a slightly higher damage multiplier for the chest and head. And when it comes to the differences between the two, the Fennec has a much higher vertical recoil, while the CX9's most contrasting stat is the bullet speed. Although both are close in terms of fire interval, it'll take a fraction longer for the CX9's bullets to hit the target. Yes, it's a small difference, but it's worth considering. Honestly, try both out for yourself so you can see which of these you prefer. The newly buffed QQ9 is really good. The buff that came to the 10mm attachment this season makes it so that you do an additional 20% damage to the lower arms, whereas before you could only do 10% additional damage. This makes it much more consistent to 3-tap and get a 158 millisecond time to kill, fastest time to kill of any automatic SMG considering you stay inside within the 18-meter range. The fire interval is just under 80 milliseconds, has an ADS time of 166 milliseconds, and moderate recoil. Unfortunately, although the HVK deals high damage, it also has low mag capacity. That's no exception with the QQ9's painfully low 30 bullets per mag, meaning you need to reload after almost every gunfight encounter. Now you know why I call this gun the HVK of SMGs. At its current state, the QQ9 has the potential to overtake the previous top tier SMGs and become the go-to option. Our number 4 on the list is the Man-O-War and the Maddox. The Man-O-War with its thermite rounds has a ridiculous infinite 2-shot range, hitting anywhere on the body. Recoil is also ridiculously easy to control. Just pull down and drag slightly to the right. The Man-O-War has a tight bullet spread, making it easier to beam at longer ranges. No wonder the Man-O-War is considered one of the deadliest weapons in the game right now. Even new players using this weapon are a force to be reckoned with. Just like any other sub 3-tap weapon, the fire rate is going to be slow, meaning you will be heavily punished each shot you miss, as high fire rate weapons can easily dominate us. The mobility on this weapon is similar to Flex ARs, where it is just enough to play the versatile playstyle. The Odin, also being a sub 3-tap weapon, also shares the same mag size as the Man-O-War, forcing us to be more accurate. Fortunately, the reload speed on this beast of a weapon is fast, making it possible to get back into action and play aggressively. With all of this, the Man-O-War seems too good to be true. And it is. The Man-O-War's 2-shot time to kill is 1 second, which is just abysmal. But the reason for this is so that you can do something very few weapons can do, and that is hitting 2 shots and disengaging the gunfight. Meaning if you can engage in a gunfight first, hit those 2 shots, you can flee and start looking for your next target, as your enemy has nothing to do once you hit them with these 2 shots. But the second problem is an enemy using Flak Jacket, which will increase the amount of bullets it takes to kill from 2 to 3 bullets, as Flak Jacket reduces thermite damage, but it doesn't compare to an enemy using Dauntless, which makes the 2-shot potential go up to a 5-shot, which is just what? I'd rather use a chicken at that point. On top of that, 15 bullets on average isn't enough for 2 enemies. Having to reload after every kill isn't worth it. Man-O-War is a great weapon, but you have to use it in the right lobbies. Test the waters first before you decide it's time to abuse it. If an enemy is using Dauntless on their loadout, it's time you whip out the Odin or Maddox. The Maddox is very similar to the Odin in terms of playstyle and utility. The Maddox is a burst weapon, shooting 2 bullets per burst. What's more interesting though is that if you compare the fire rate for both, the Odin has 413 RPM, while the Maddox is a slightly lower 402 RPM. However, the Maddox has a 167 millisecond time to kill up until 19 meters if you can manage to hit above the waist, which is generous in comparison to other 3-tap weapons. It's easy enough even low skilled players can achieve this crazy time to kill. At longer ranges, the Maddox can pretty much achieve the same time to kill as the Odin with only a 16 millisecond difference, making it able to perform at the same level as the Odin. The advantage with the Maddox though is SMG like ADS speed and mobility stats, which means you can play much more aggressively with the Maddox. Because of those mobility stats, missing shots can be compensated by strafing left and right, making the enemy miss more of their shots. Accompanied with its outstanding mobility is its quick reload and reload cancel speed. If you thought that's good, controlling the recoil is one of the easiest by far. Just pull down, that's it. Seriously. In conclusion, the Maddox is a more versatile version of the Odin, as it is a much more aggressive weapon and forgiving to use. So powerful to the point we can win against the almighty BP50 and keep going until the 30 to 40 meter range. Unfortunately, where it lacks is that range, which is where the Odin shines. Despite that, Maddox is underrated in my opinion. We just said the Maddox was more versatile and easier weapon to use. You're correct, but if you're skilled to be able to hit your shots despite the slow fire rate, you'll be rewarded with the ever so slight advantage it has with a quicker 290 millisecond time to kill at infinite range. The Odin is for the pro players as they are skilled enough to pull it off and consistently hit the chest and above. This gun is literally reserved for those with high gun skill, otherwise, just use the Nighthawks. Before we make comparisons between the HVK and the BP50, understand that there hasn't been a weapon in the game so good it dictates the flow of the match like the BP50 has. But anyways, HVK at first glance, at its damage range, seems like the better option with a 180 millisecond time to kill at 17.5 meters in comparison to the BP50's 189 millisecond time to kill at 15.6 meters. But the BP50 makes up for it with its high fire rate and high mag capacity, making it super forgiving when missing shots. Both have fairly decent bullet spread accuracy, but the HVK's recoil pattern is one of the hardest to control with a squiggly-like pattern, which makes it difficult to beam at longer ranges. Okay. Let's take stats out of the picture for a moment. BP50 wins in terms of practicality. If we were to put the HVK and the BP50 against each other with equally skilled players, the BP50 wins 9 out of 10 times in those scenarios, which is why in order to beat the BP50, you have to change the HVK into a damage rank king, maintaining 270 milliseconds time to kill at 35.7 meters to dominate the BP50. The only downside is that you have to sacrifice mobility, which means you have to play more passively. It's a good trade-off, I guess. But if you want to play more aggressively, literally just go back to the BP50. There's literally no other better choice.
Oh my god! Oh,
so in conclusion, the top 2 can basically be interchangeable depending on the playstyle you prefer. Anyways, what do you think of this top 10 guns list? Should I do more in the future? Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video.